If you are fast here, just then you are a good developer. Everyone likes you and everyone is happy. Your product owner is happy. Your scrum master is happy. Your manager is happy, as well as your client. What skills changes your status from junior to mid? What skills are advancing you? What skills are improving you? To answer this question, I would like to talk from experience. Guys, I think, like a doctor, the reaction towards the symptoms gives the skills to the developers. What I mean is, like when a person, a developer, saw an exception and the time that he understands, evaluates, and comes up with a solution makes this developer a good developer. That's the reason today I am reasoning about some exceptions, and I brought 6 the most seen Salesforce Apex exceptions. If you are ready, let's get started analyzing those Salesforce exceptions. Hi guys, and if you are ready, let's get started. As you see, I have prepared like one schema for you. On the above part, I brought the real error messages from the development. And on the below part, I'm giving you some explanations, like the name of this exception and what is the reason and what would be the possible fix for it. Let's start and see those messages. The first one on the left here, like it is a system null pointer exception, right? It is an attempting to have a have something on one object which is not exist, which is null. So since it is null and there is an operation over it, right? So it generates this error. The second one here, this system S object exception, and which is telling you, right, S object's row was retrieved via SQL without querying the requested field. Okay. Let's say that it is name, and you try to just change name, but the name is not retrieved inside of the SQL. It's really common, I think, an easy self-explanatory exception. The third one is too many SQL queries and this limit exception, right? I tried to just mention at my previous video those shared resources and how these limitations are important in terms of development. The next one is, I think I put here wrong one. That would be this read-only exception related to object, and it is read-only. You try to write over it, so this error just pops up. The next one is least index out of bound exception, really common one. The last one is maximum trigger depth exceeded exception. I'm not sure if you have seen it before, but let's get deep and then talk one by one. Okay, I created the schema. If you request it, I can also share it because I can extract as a slide from here. I can share it with you, but first of all, those green ones refers those exceptions, and then the next part is the reason, and then the last ones, those yellow ones are the fixes. Let's get started with the null pointer exception. Right? It is so common error. But first of all, when you see the error, you should be looking for one place where there is no null check created. Right? There is an attempt to dereference a object which is null. So since it is happening, you need to find this place, and then you need to put one if statement, this controlling statement, before you do an action on this object. In my example here, I have one ID, and since I can use this string one, right, to check it in an if statement, I am using this is not blank method. I am just sending my ID inside of it. Since there is this AND operator, you may know it, but for those who doesn't know that, I am just explaining this. On the left part of the AND operator, since it is a logical operator, it can be false and true, right? And if it is false, the system is not even checking the right part of this AND operator. It is directly like off. Okay, continue. You cannot get in. So by that way, like you are making yourself secured here because you are putting that criteria. If the ID is somehow blank, okay, do not do it. Okay, do not continue, do not get inside of this if. So the only way to evaluate like the second criteria is having this ID somehow not blank. So that could be one fix, but for general mentality, you are understanding it. If you have this error, you need to control the code and you make sure that there's a null check there. Okay. The second one is record is read only. And the reason would be like sort of you are on the trigger and it is an after insert trigger. And there is a DML operation on this after insert. The reason that you may have this error is the record is not committed to the database at that stage. Since it is not committed there, there is an ID, okay, but this ID as a record is not committed to the DB. Okay, how to fix it? So if you are trying, you need to check it, of course, but rather than referring this trigger.new, you can query the record. Like you can query what record it is. That could be contact, right? You can query your contact by the ID, and if this ID inside of this trigger new map key set, because inside of the new map, you know that since it is map, the ID is the key, and then the record is the value of this key. So it is a new map. You can just try to query it. That would be an insight. If you come across this error, you may be considering the implementation of what I just suggested, right? The next error would be maximum trigger depth is exceeded exception. The reason that you may get this error is recursively called trigger, right? In this trigger concept, you are making one update, let's say. So this update is also calling your trigger once again, and inside of trigger, and you call it once again, which is also triggering your trigger, right? And this is recursive operation, like calling inside, and each call is one step inside, right? It is a depth. So to fix this problem, mainly you may have one controlling mechanism, right? You would have one property and you can change its value to false to true, right? By that way, you can put one if statement and then you place your update YAML operation inside of this if, and you can mainly control whether it is already updated in this trigger, this record, right? If it is already updated, so do not do this operation once again. You can control this by having one additional property. The next exception is list has no rows for assignment to S object. Null value returned from SQL for a single object assignment. Here, guys, I put one example here. As you see, like there is this SQL, right, statement. And on the left part, so it assigned to one account, right? If the right part doesn't return anything, so you may have this exception. List has no rows for assignment to S object. So if you see this error, then understand that you may have one similar scenario. How to fix it? The fix is easy. Just use list instead of directly assigning to account, right? Use here one list type, and although this SQL returns a null, then you may omit this error because then it means that the list doesn't have anything, right? Before to not, I think like to not repeat yourself of getting this null pointer exception, basically before processing this account list, right, you can put a null check there if it is null or not, right? To not to repeat yourself. But mainly to omit this error, you can just use list here. The next exception is list index out of bound exception. And here, once again, like here you wanted to just SQL something and you put them into the list. But before the null check, you try to just retrieve the zero index of this list, which is the first element. Since there is nothing inside of it, you get the list index out of bound exception. That's that easy, but those are the common ones, right? If you are new here, just it is important to understand and know what is the reason of getting this list index out of bound exception. The next one is too many SQL queries, right? So mainly do not do this, right? Looping and having SQL inside of one loop. So by that way, just you can quickly use your limits for SQL queries. Do not it in terms of best practices. So it is really common practice in the Apex. The last one is like this S object row was retrieved via SQL without querying the requested field. And it refers that like you made the query, but you didn't select the field. And at that moment, you are trying to just make an operation over it. And you try to assign some value to it, but it is not retrieved. So you have this error. So basically, you need to go to this SQL and then add your field inside of it. Then the problem would be resolved. Like the reason that I'm telling this, guys, when you see this type of error, right, in the system, the development and maybe even one bug appeared, one bug created, right, in the system, and then your tester is recorded it and then reported it, right? And a bug created, the client is like pushing you, there's a deployment. So like, what do you think? What is the time for you to fix it? And you are a responsible person for it. Let's say that. So the first thing you do is just opening the bug and then analyzing it, right? And probably there will be one screenshot there with this error message, and then error message is telling you that, okay, it is record is read-only exception. What makes a developer, not a junior developer, but experienced developer, is the reaction limit, reaction slot, I would say, and how long it takes for you to analyze this error, this bug, and then reacting over it, right? And if you are fast here, just then you are a good developer. Everyone likes you and everyone is happy. Your product owner is happy. Your scrum master is happy. Your manager is happy, as well as your client, right? I'm talking from experience because that was the things that my manager was telling me, right? Even he asked me, he suggested me, okay, if I were you, I would, when I have such bug, I would stay a bit more and learn, right? What's the reason behind it? That would be a really good impact to your team members, and by that way you can build trust, right, towards them. For the next bug, they can easily tell that, okay, like Summit is really good at the bugs and his analyzing skills is really good, so we can give these bugs to him, not to lose any time. I hope you really like this video, and if you want to add something more, please do not hesitate to do it. Feel free to share this concept and subscribe, and then help me to improve myself more, improve the channel more. I need your help here. You are a representative of my channel as well. You are in the family, and take care. See you at the next video. Bye bye.